Beloved soul, when you wake each morning, your mind immediately begins to race through the countless demands of the world duties waiting for your attention. Fears creeping in from yesterday, restless ambitions stirring within your chest. And in that rush of thought and noise, you may forget the most essential truth. God is already here, silently dwelling within you, patiently waiting for you to remember His eternal presence. You may think that sensing God's nearness requires a lifetime of seeking, endless hours of complex practices, or journeys to distant holy places. But the divine mystery is far more intimate and immediate than that. With only a few breaths of devotion, with only a few whispered words spoken sincerely from the depths of your soul, the infinite can awaken in your heart like a sunrise dissolving the long night of forgetfulness. Today, I wish to share with you a sacred practice, a simple invocation that you can speak 3 times and feel God stirring within you. It is not magic, it is not a mechanical formula. It is a living bridge of vibration that, when uttered with deep sincerity and feeling, aligns your entire being with the silent presence of Spirit already dwelling inside you. For too long, humanity has searched for the divine in temples made of stone, in rituals performed with empty repetition, in promises of distant heavens beyond death, all the while neglecting the holy temple within the altar of the soul, where God waits patiently for our awakening gaze. What if you could step away from the noise of thought, peel back the heavy veil of ego and worry, and in only a moment feel the eternal breathing with you, loving you, guiding you? This is not a distant dream. This is your birthright as a child of the infinite. Words are vibrations, and when chosen carefully and spoken from the heart, they can do more than express meaning. They can summon divine consciousness into living experience. Spoken with attention and reverence, these words become a lamp that lights the dark corridors of the mind, revealing the luminous presence that has never left your side. In the next moments together, I will teach you not only the sacred phrase to speak, but also the art of speaking it with full spiritual magnetism, so that when you say it 3 times, it penetrates through layers of distraction and draws you into living communion with God. Before we do this, let us first understand why we so often fail to feel that presence. Not because God is far away, not because the soul is weak, but because the restless mind builds walls of noise that keep our awareness turned outward, away from the silent radiance within. Pause with me now. Take a slow, deep breath. Place your hand upon your heart and simply feel the life beating there. This life does not belong to you, it is Spirit pulsing through you, sustaining you in every moment. Even when you forget Him, God does not forget you. Even when you feel lost, He is the silent witness of your every thought and action, awaiting the moment you turn back toward Him. Let us take the first step toward that remembrance now, as we prepare to unveil the sacred invocation that will call your soul home to its eternal beloved. Beloved one, before you can fully grasp the power of the words I am about to give you, you must understand the divine science hidden within sound and vibration. Since the dawn of creation, every movement of spirit into matter has occurred through vibration. In the beginning was the Word, says the Holy Scripture, and in that single sentence lies the mystery of why spoken words, charged with feeling and devotion, can awaken divine presence within you. Every sound carries energy. Every word is a current of consciousness that can uplift or disturb the soul. When a word is spoken with clarity and spiritual intention, it aligns you with the higher frequencies of the infinite. This is why ancient sages and mystics have always taught the power of prayer, mantra, and affirmation not as superstition, not as empty chants, but as living streams of divine force. Each time you repeat a sacred word with faith, you are not merely uttering syllables into the air. You are striking the inner strings of your own soul, causing it to vibrate in harmony with the divine. Just as a tuning fork, when struck, can cause another tuning fork nearby to sing the same note without being touched, so do these holy words awaken dormant spiritual frequencies within you, bringing your awareness into resonance with God's own consciousness. Yogananda often spoke of how even a single thought infused with divine remembrance can magnetize the soul toward Spirit. When you gather your scattered attention and focus it through words of love and surrender, you create a beam of energy strong enough to pierce through layers of mental noise. The mind quiets, the heart opens, and the Spirit, which was always present, is suddenly felt not as an abstract belief, but as living, breathing reality. This is the true purpose of divine speech, not to convince God to come to you, but to clear away the fog of forgetfulness so that you can feel His eternal nearness. But you must speak not with the cold repetition of intellect. Words only possess spiritual power when they are wrapped in the warmth of devotion, when they flow from the still center of your being rather than from the restless surface of thought. Whispered from the heart, they rise like incense, ascending through every layer of your consciousness until they merge with the very vibration of spirit. It is in this sacred merging that you begin to feel God softly at first, like a faint fragrance of peace, and then fully, like a radiant presence filling your entire being with love and light. So let us prepare to use this spiritual science wisely. In the coming moments, I will share with you the sacred invocation itself, a phrase so simple yet so profound that when spoken 3 times with full awareness, it can quiet your mind and open the doorway to divine communion. But first, let us understand the obstacle that often prevents seekers from feeling this presence, the veil of restlessness that keeps their awareness outwardly bound. Beloved, imagine for a moment that your mind is a tranquil lake, still and luminous, reflecting perfectly the radiant light of the moon above. In such stillness, divine presence is easily seen and felt, for spirit is as ever present as the moon shining in the night sky. Yet for most souls, this lake of consciousness is rarely still. Winds of worry and storms of thought ripple across its surface, scattering reflections into distorted fragments. Waves of anxiety crash against its shores, currents of memory and desire churn beneath, and what was once a mirror for spirit becomes a restless sea where divine light is scarcely visible. This restlessness is not unique to you. It is the common plight of humanity. From the moment we awaken each day, countless impressions from the world demand our attention. The mind begins to run like a wild horse, chasing one thought after another, some fearful, some hopeful, some rooted in past regrets or future imaginings. Amid this ceaseless clamor, how can the still, subtle voice of spirit be heard? God speaks not in thunderous proclamations, but in the quiet whisper of intuition, the gentle fragrance of peace, the soft radiance of joy that dawns in silence. And here is where the sacred power of spoken invocation becomes a divine remedy. Words charged with devotion act as calming ripples sent out upon the stormy waters of the mind. With each repetition of a holy phrase, mental noise is hushed, emotions are soothed, and attention is drawn inward toward the heart, where spirit has been waiting patiently. Spoken prayers are not meant to shout into heaven hoping God will hear. They are meant to awaken the divine presence that already dwells in the sanctuary of your soul. When you speak a phrase of surrender and love, you are not merely expressing belief, you are reshaping vibration itself. Imagine a bell rung 3 times in a silent temple. With each chime, the lingering sound resonates longer, filling every corner with stillness. Similarly, when you repeat a sacred invocation 3 times, it moves through the layers of body, mind, and soul, anchoring you fully in the awareness of spirit. The first repetition stills your physical senses. The second soothes the restless mind. And the third draws your soul into direct communion with God's presence. So, beloved, do not despair if you have long sought God but felt only silence. The silence was not absence, it was the divine waiting for you to still your own noise long enough to listen. In a few moments, I will share with you the very phrase that can help you pierce this veil of restlessness. But before we speak it aloud together, let us understand its meaning deeply, for only a phrase understood in heart and soul can summon the transformative power it carries. Beloved soul, the sacred phrase I am about to share with you is not complex, for divine truth is never hidden in elaborate words. It is hidden only by our forgetfulness of who we are. The phrase is a key, not to persuade God to appear, but to unlock the inner door you have unknowingly kept closed through restlessness and outward wandering. When spoken with sincerity and stillness, it opens the gate to direct divine remembrance. The phrase is this: Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Reveal thyself in me. Let us pause and let these words settle deep within us. Beloved Spirit, with these opening words, you acknowledge God not as a distant ruler or abstract concept, but as the closest, most intimate presence in your life. Spirit is not foreign to you. It is your very breath, your silent companion through every joy and sorrow. When you say beloved, you awaken love within yourself, and love is the bridge that unites the soul with God. I am thine. These words are a surrender, a release of the false belief that you are separate, alone, or bound by egoic will. In this moment of affirmation, you place your entire being into the hands of the infinite, like a wave returning to the ocean from which it came. With every repetition, this surrender deepens, until you no longer merely speak the words, you become the truth they express. Reveal thyself in me. This final part is not a demand, it is a gentle invitation, a humble opening of the soul to the light that has always been present. It is as though you are lifting the veil from your own eyes and saying, Beloved, I know you are here, yet I have forgotten. Come, awaken my memory, shine through me so that I may live not as this small self, but as a radiant expression of your eternal spirit. Now understand this well. Speaking this phrase once can awaken a spark, but speaking it 3 times with full awareness ignites a fire. The first time, your body relaxes. The second time, your mind becomes still. And the third time, your soul resonates fully with divine remembrance. Spoken with devotion, this triple repetition is like knocking 3 times on the door of heaven, not to plead for entry, but to remind yourself that you were never locked out to begin with. Beloved, prepare yourself now, for we shall soon say these words together. I will guide you through each repetition, first to quiet your body, then to open your heart, and finally to merge your consciousness with the presence of God. Before we speak, take a slow, deep breath, and know that with these simple, heartfelt words, you are about to step across the threshold into direct communion with the Beloved who has always been within you. Beloved soul, let us now enter the sacred space of practice. Straighten your spine gently as though a golden thread were drawing you upward. Place your hands softly upon your lap or over your heart, and close your eyes to the outer world so that the inner world of spirit may begin to glow brighter. Take a deep, slow breath and feel it as divine life flowing through you. As you exhale, imagine every worry, every distraction, every weight of the past melting away like mist beneath the rising sun. Now we begin the first repetition of this holy invocation, whose purpose is to still the body and quiet the senses, making you receptive to divine presence. Open your heart and softly whisper, Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Reveal thyself in me. Speak these words as though you are gently knocking on the door of your own soul, patiently and reverently. After speaking, pause in silence and notice the subtle calm settling over you. Your shoulders soften, your breath becomes more natural, and the restlessness of the body begins to dissolve. Feel this phrase anchoring you in stillness, like a tree sending roots deep into the earth. Whisper it again if you feel called, but remember that this first repetition is not about effort, it is about relaxing into God's presence. Like a child laying its head upon the lap of the Divine Mother, you simply rest in trust, knowing that you are held and safe. Allow the silence following these words to embrace you, for even now, in this calm, the presence of Spirit is stirring, gently brushing away layers of forgetfulness. Take another slow, deep breath. Feel the weight of your body grounding into peace, the racing of thoughts beginning to subside, and the soft radiance of divine life moving through you. This is the first step, beloved, to still the outer self so that the inner light may begin to shine unobstructed. In a moment, we shall move to the second repetition, where the power of these words will awaken the heart and draw you closer to the living presence of God dwelling within. Beloved one, now that the first whisper has stilled the senses and anchored your body in peace, let us take a deeper step into the temple of the heart. Close your eyes more fully, as though turning away from all worlds outside and entering the silent sanctuary within. Lift your gaze gently toward the spiritual eye, the divine point between your eyebrows, and place your right hand softly over your heart. Feel its steady rhythm not only as a beat of flesh and blood, but as the echo of spirit pulsing through your being. Take a long, slow inhale, as if you are drawing divine light directly into your chest. Hold this breath tenderly, and in that sacred pause, feel the longing of your soul rising like a fragrant offering toward the Beloved. Now, with deep devotion, speak again these holy words. Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Reveal thyself in me. This time, do not merely whisper. Let your voice carry a tone of yearning, of love calling to love, of the child seeking its eternal parent. As the words leave your lips, imagine them becoming rays of light, flowing upward from your heart and reaching toward the infinite skies of spirit. With each syllable, feel warmth blooming in your chest, a gentle flame awakening, a flame not of this earth but of divine presence, glowing brighter with each repetition. Pause after speaking. Feel how the invocation lingers, like a bell whose chime continues to vibrate long after it is struck. In this silent resonance, the barrier between you and God begins to thin. The heaviness of separation melts away, and a sweetness, subtle yet unmistakable, begins to fill the heart. It is as though invisible arms are drawing you inward, as though the beloved has heard and is already stepping forth from the hidden sanctuary within. Breathe slowly and stay with this warmth. Let your hand over your heart remind you that God has always lived here, not as a distant deity, but as your very life force, as your constant companion in every moment. This second repetition has opened the inner gate. It has called forth divine presence like a fragrance released by a blossoming flower. And now, beloved, we are ready to take the final, most profound step, the third repetition, where the words will no longer feel as though you are calling to God, but as though God Himself is speaking through you, merging your soul completely into His eternal light. Beloved, now we come to the final repetition, the sacred moment when the veil of separation can dissolve completely, and you may feel, not merely believe, that God has always been one with you. Straighten your spine just a little more, like a divine column of light rising through the center of your being. Let your shoulders fall into total surrender, and lift your gaze upward, silently inviting the infinite heavens to open within you. Take a slow, deep inhale and hold it softly. In this stillness, imagine that your small self, the restless mind, the anxious heart, the heavy past is melting away like a drop of water returning to the ocean. When you speak this time, you will not be calling out to a distant presence. You will be letting that presence speak through you, as you, within you. Whisper now, slowly, with reverence, "Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Reveal thyself in me." Feel how the words no longer travel outward but resonate like a cosmic bell within every cell of your being. Your breath feels lighter, your body luminous, your awareness vast and unbound. A gentle warmth may spread upward from your chest to your face, or a still sweetness may descend like a soft, divine breeze. Whatever you feel, know that this is the touch of Spirit, the eternal friend who has never been absent. Remain silent for a moment now. Allow these vibrations to settle into every layer of your consciousness. Sense how time begins to lose its grip, how the edges of your thoughts soften, and how a profound peace silently radiates from a source deeper than the mind could ever reach. This is the inner temple opening. This is your soul beginning to remember itself as a spark of the infinite light. Beloved, when you speak this phrase 3 times with full awareness, it is not a ritual, it is a return. It is the soul knocking upon the gate of heaven, only to discover the gate was never locked. God was not waiting to arrive from afar. He was waiting for you to remember that His eternal home has always been within you. Stay in this stillness for as long as you wish. Breathe softly and inwardly affirm, "I am not a seeker. I am the one who has been found. I am not a beggar for love. I am love itself, shining as a child of Spirit." Carry this remembrance into every moment of your day, and know that any time you feel distant or lost, you can speak these words again, and heaven will open within you once more. Beloved soul, now that we have spoken this invocation 3 times and opened the inner door to divine remembrance, let us dwell for a moment upon the signs that reveal God's presence within you. These signs are not always grand visions or celestial voices. Often, they are soft, subtle shifts within the sanctuary of your heart, gentle whispers of Spirit, letting you know that the infinite has drawn near, or rather, that you have finally turned inward to behold what has always been there. One sign is a profound and unshakable peace that begins to spread through your being. The racing thoughts that once clouded your mind fall silent, not by force, but by the calming touch of divine light. This peace is not the absence of sound or movement in the outer world. It is an inner stillness, a sense of being held in eternal safety no matter what storms may rage outside. When you feel this peace arise spontaneously after prayer or repetition of sacred words, know that it is the gentle presence of God stirring within your soul. Another sign is a subtle yet radiant joy, uncaused by any outer circumstance. It may feel like a quiet bubbling of happiness in your chest, or a sudden lift in your spirit as though unseen wings are carrying you upward. This joy is not loud or fleeting, it is soft, like sunlight breaking through clouds, and it leaves behind a sweetness that lingers long after the words have been spoken. There may also come a deepened clarity of intuition. When divine presence fills you, answers to life's struggles arise naturally from within, as if whispered by an unseen friend who knows you better than you know yourself. Choices once clouded by confusion become clear, and you feel gently guided toward higher actions, not by logic alone, but by a knowing that flows from the depths of spirit. And perhaps the most sacred sign of all is love, pure, unconditional, expansive. When the presence of God awakens in you, love pours forth effortlessly, embracing not just those you are close to, but even those who may have caused you pain. In this divine remembrance, all beings are seen as rays of the same light, and your heart cannot help but shine toward them as a silent blessing. Beloved, these are the divine footprints left behind as spirit walks through your consciousness. Treasure them, for they are not accidents or passing emotions. They are glimpses of your true nature as a spark of the infinite flame. With each repetition of this sacred phrase, these signs will become more vivid, more lasting, until one day you no longer need words to feel God. You will carry His presence within you as naturally as you carry your own breath. Beloved one, the sacred words we have spoken are not meant to be isolated moments of inspiration that fade as quickly as they come. They are a divine key, meant to be used each day until the door they open remains forever ajar, and the radiant presence of spirit becomes your constant companion. To truly receive the fullness of this practice, you must weave it into the very fabric of your daily life, until every breath you take is an unspoken prayer, and every step you walk is upon the holy ground of divine remembrance. Begin each morning not by rushing into the noise of the world, but by sitting quietly with spine straight and heart lifted to the infinite. Before the mind has a chance to scatter into countless directions, let the first sound upon your lips be this holy phrase: Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Reveal thyself in me. Speak it once to awaken the body to stillness, again to draw the heart into devotion, and a third time to merge your awareness with God's eternal presence. Then, remain silent for a few moments, simply feeling the vibration of those words resonating through you like the lingering chime of a temple bell. This quiet beginning will color the rest of your day with divine light. Throughout the day, you will face distractions, challenges, and moments of forgetfulness. But know this: you are never truly separated from spirit. In the midst of a busy street, in the quiet of your room, during moments of joy or sorrow, you can silently repeat these words and feel their calming power immediately. Whisper inwardly, Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Feel how even in the noise of life, a circle of stillness surrounds you, reminding you that God is nearer than breath, closer than your very heartbeat. At night, before sleep, return once more to this sacred invocation. Speak it softly 3 times, allowing the weight of the day to melt into the divine hands of the Eternal. Imagine that as you drift into sleep, your soul is being carried upward on a stream of light, gently resting in the silent presence of spirit throughout the night. This practice not only brings peace to your mind, but also transforms your subconscious, planting seeds of divine remembrance that will blossom in your dreams and awakenings alike. Beloved, over time, something extraordinary will begin to happen. The words will no longer feel like something you are saying. They will feel as though they are being spoken by God Himself within you. You will sense that the phrase is not a prayer of longing, but a statement of truth, a declaration of the eternal unity that has always been. The need for repetition will fade, for you will live in the very presence you once sought. This is the hidden power of devotion made simple. With only a few words, spoken with sincerity and repeated with reverence, you will come to know what countless souls have missed while chasing the divine in distant places. God was here all along, silently waiting to reveal Himself in you. Beloved soul, now that you have learned how to speak these holy words and integrate them into every breath of your life, let us seal this sacred practice with a blessing that will accompany you long after these words fade from your ears. Close your eyes once more and lift your heart to the infinite, as though you are turning your face toward an unseen sun that has been shining upon you since before the dawn of time. Take a deep, slow inhale and silently affirm within, I am not a seeker of God, I am already united with God. Hold this breath gently, feeling that this truth has always been alive within you, even when your mind forgot. As you exhale, whisper softly, "In spirit, I live forever in love, in peace, in divine presence." Let your shoulders relax and feel a river of light flowing through you, washing away the last veils of separation, leaving only radiant stillness behind. Beloved, imagine now that you are surrounded by a sphere of golden light, luminous and warm. This is not imagination alone. It is the aura of divine grace awakened through your devotion. Within this light, no fear can dwell, no doubt can take root. Here, in this radiant silence, the eternal Father-Mother whispers to you, "Child of light, I have never left you. In every breath you breathe, I breathe. In every step you take, I walk with you. In every thought of love, it is my own love shining through you." Carry this blessing into your days and nights. Let every moment become an opportunity to repeat the holy frasino out of need, but out of joyful remembrance. Beloved Spirit, I am thine. Reveal thyself in me. When you speak it, know that you are not calling upon a distant presence, but awakening the divine flame that has always burned within you. Speak it when you rise in the morning, when challenges test your heart, when joy fills your spirit, and when sleep draws near. Each repetition will weave you ever closer into the embrace of the infinite, until you no longer feel the boundary between your soul and God's eternal light. Now, take one final breath with me. Inhale the golden light of spirit. Hold it as though you are holding eternity itself, and exhale slowly into the vast stillness where divine love abides. Whisper silently, "Forever and always, I am thine." Go forth now in peace, beloved one, knowing that you walk not alone but hand in hand with the divine. This presence will guide you, protect you, and lift you beyond every shadow into the radiant joy of spirit, where you have always belonged and will belong forevermore. Beloved soul, when a loved one leaves this earthly realm, a silent question stirs in the heart. Have they truly gone? When I look to the sky and whisper their name, do they hear me? When tears fall silently at night, does their soul return to comfort me? Or is the bond of love severed forever by the shadow we call death? This question is not born of idle curiosity but of deep yearning, for love is the thread that binds hearts together, and when the body of a loved one is laid down in the dust of earth, the heart aches to know if that bond still lives on. I have walked among seekers whose eyes were heavy with grief, who held a picture close to their chest and asked me in trembling voice, "Master, will I see them again? Do they watch over me? Do they return to visit the home where they once walked beside me?" And I tell you, dear ones, not from belief or philosophy alone, but from divine experience, the soul does not die, love does not perish, and the silent, unseen bond between you and your departed family is never broken. Death is not the crushing end of existence that mortal eyes believe it to be. It is but a gentle, passing through a doorway unseen, from one room of God's cosmic mansion into another, from the visible to the invisible, from the dense vibrations of physical matter into the subtler radiance of the astral worlds. And in that journey, the ties of true love remain as golden threads that even death cannot sever. When your loved ones pass from the body, they do not vanish into cold oblivion. They awaken, as from a night's dream, in a realm of light, beauty, and expanded freedom. Yet in the first tender moments after they cross that threshold, many souls still turn their gaze back toward those they love. They feel your cries, your prayers, your longing. Like a traveler who has reached a distant shore, yet stands on the deck of the departing ship, waving farewell with tears of affection, they, too, send blessings across the veil. Some return in subtle ways to assure you that they are near a gentle presence felt beside your bed. A dream so vivid it feels more real than waking life. A sudden warmth or lightness in your heart when you think of them. I say to you with divine certainty, the love you share does not dissolve in the silence of the grave. For love is not of the body, it is of the soul, and the soul is eternal. The great sorrow of humanity is not death itself, but ignorance of this truth. Like children watching a curtain fall at the end of a play, we weep thinking the story has ended, not knowing that another act is already beginning on a higher stage of existence. Come now, beloved soul, and let us walk together beyond the veil of mortal sight. Let me show you, through the eye of spirit, how the soul journeys after death, how bonds of love weave through lifetimes and realms, and how even in the silent stillness of a graveyard, unseen eyes may be watching over you with tender devotion. This is not fantasy or wishful thinking, but the eternal science of the soul revealed by God and confirmed by saints and masters who have crossed and returned to speak of the higher worlds. Sit with me in quiet heart as we begin this divine exploration, that you may know with certainty, when you die or when your loved ones pass before you, the soul is not lost to nothingness. And yes, in ways more profound than human senses can grasp, they do return, they do see you, they do love you still. Beloved, let us first acknowledge the silent, aching fear that dwells in many hearts, the fear that when death comes, the beloved face we once kissed goodnight, the hands that held ours through life's trials, the warm laughter that once filled our homes, will all be lost forever to a great, unfeeling void. This fear creeps into moments of solitude, whispers its questions in the silent hours after loss, and casts a shadow over life itself, because we dread that every tender bond we cherish will be severed by the cold hand of death. I have sat with grieving disciples, mothers who lost a child, husbands and wives who watched their life partner pass away. I have seen their trembling lips ask me, "Master, is this the end? Shall I never hold them again? Never see their smile? Never hear their voice calling my name?" And though their pain was great, I smiled softly and said, "No, beloved, death does not have such power over divine love. What God has united in spirit can never be torn apart by mortal change." This world teaches otherwise. The materialistic mind insists that when breath ceases, consciousness is extinguished like a candle in the wind, that what you love becomes nothing more than dust. This illusion is one of Maya's cruelest tricks, for it blinds humanity to the truth that no soul has ever truly died. Think of a friend who walks into another room of your house while you remain seated where you are. Because you cannot see them through the wall, you might imagine they are gone, but in truth they remain just as alive, just as present, simply moving in a space beyond your current sight. Death is no different. The soul steps out of its worn garment, the physical body, and walks into a luminous chamber of existence, unseen by earthly eyes but very near, very real. The pain of separation you feel is not wrong. It is natural for the human heart to grieve when its beloved is no longer visible to mortal sight. But this sorrow, though real, is based on a half-truth that sees the body vanish, yet knows not where the soul has gone. This is why spiritual understanding is so vital. Without it, we believe love is lost. With it, we know love is not bound by skin, nor limited by breath, nor ended by death. I remember speaking to disciples who felt their deceased parents or children might be lonely in the afterlife. I told them, the soul never leaves the touch of love. Divine bonds are not of earth alone. They are threads of light woven by God's own hands. When you sit in silence, when you pray with an open heart, those threads vibrate with living connection. Though unseen, your love reaches them and theirs returns to you. So let us strip away the false fear that death is a merciless ending. It is not the destroyer of love, but rather a shifting of the stage on which love is expressed. Know this deeply. The eternal soul cannot be imprisoned by a tomb, nor severed from family by death. Instead, it continues, it remembers, and in many ways it draws nearer to those it loves than it could in the limitations of flesh. Come, and I shall show you how the soul moves beyond the mortal shell, how it travels to higher planes of existence, and how even there it turns its gaze toward those it left behind, not to abandon them, but to bless them, comfort them, and guide them until they meet again in light. Beloved child of the infinite, before you can truly understand how a departed soul may visit and watch over their earthly family, you must first awaken to the timeless truth of what you truly are. The greatest tragedy of human existence is not death itself, but ignorance of the soul's eternal nature. Like a king wandering the land in rags, forgetting his royal birthright, man wanders through life believing himself a frail body destined to perish, never realizing that within him burns the deathless flame of spirit. From the dawn of creation, the soul has existed shining, radiant, untouched by birth, untouched by death. When you look into the mirror and see your face aging year by year, when you watch the seasons change and friends come and go, you may think you too are changing, diminishing, destined for an ending. But in the silent depths of your being, Beneath thought, beneath feeling, lies a presence that has never altered in all the ages of time. It is the same presence you felt as a child looking at the stars, as a youth dreaming of the future, as an adult facing the trials of life. This I am, this silent witness behind every moment, is the eternal soul, immortal, indestructible, unbound by the comings and goings of the body. The scriptures of East and West declare this truth. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "The soul is never born, nor does it ever die. It was not created, nor shall it be destroyed. Unborn, eternal, everlasting, it does not perish when the body is slain." And in the Bible, Christ affirms, "Before Abraham was, I am." These are not poetic fancies. They are direct revelations of what the masters have seen with divine vision. Consciousness survives the disintegration of flesh as effortlessly as a man removes an old coat and dons a new one. Death, therefore, is not an end but a change of scenery for the soul. Imagine an actor playing many roles on the stage of life, sometimes wearing the costume of a father, sometimes of a daughter, sometimes of a friend. When the play is done, the actor steps backstage, removes the costume, and rests before the next performance. But the actor never dies with the role he played. So too, the soul sheds the body when its purpose is fulfilled, only to continue the eternal drama of divine evolution. Why then do we grieve as though death has annihilated our beloved? It is because we have mistaken the costume for the being wearing it. The tender smile, the warm embrace, the voice we long to hear, these were but the body's instruments expressing the soul's light. When the body ceases to function, it feels to human senses as if everything we loved has ceased as well. Yet the soul remains fully alive, radiant and aware, simply moving beyond the reach of our physical eyes. When you understand this, a great peace begins to dawn. The fear of death loses its grip, for you realize that you and your loved ones have walked together for lifetimes, each time exchanging temporary forms, while remaining the same undying companions in spirit. Death cannot claim a bond forged in divine love. It can only change the way that bond is experienced. Know, beloved, that even now, as you think of those who have left this earthly plane, their souls are not gone. They live on more free, more luminous, more joyful than before, remembering you with love, as surely as you remember them. And in ways unseen yet deeply felt, they draw near, whispering across the veil of matter to say, "I am not gone. I live. I watch. I love you still." This is the promise of spirit, that no true relationship is ever destroyed by time or death. Let this truth comfort your heart as we journey deeper into the mystery of what happens after the soul leaves the body and how it continues to move in love toward those it has known on earth. Beloved seeker of eternal truth, now that you understand that the soul is immortal, let us journey together through the wondrous passage that awaits every soul when it casts off the mortal garment. Death is often feared because its process is hidden from ordinary sight, cloaked in mystery and silence. Yet to those who have pierced the veil of matter through divine realization, death is not a darkness to dread but a luminous dawn, the beginning of a higher and freer existence. When the final breath is drawn and the heart ceases its earthly rhythm, the soul does not vanish into oblivion. In that sacred moment, a great release takes place. The consciousness, long bound to the body's dense vibrations, withdraws inwardly through the spiritual centers of the spine, gathering the life force that had animated every cell. With the gentleness of a mother lifting a sleeping child from its cradle, divine law draws the soul upward, separating it from its earthly form. For a brief moment, many souls experience a panoramic vision of their earthly life, seeing each action, each word, each thought, reflected as if in a great mirror. This is not a judgment imposed by some external power, but an awakening of divine memory, allowing the soul to understand how its earthly choices have shaped its present state. Then, freed from the physical shell, the soul awakens in a world of light, the astral realm. This astral world, beloved, is far more beautiful and vibrant than the coarsely vibrating physical universe you now know. Colors there shimmer with living light, music flows not from instruments but from the very atmosphere itself, and communication is instant and wordless, as souls exchange thought and feeling directly without sound. There is no pain of flesh, no weight of bones to burden movement. The astral body is composed of energy and light, radiant and youthful regardless of the earthly age at which death occurred. In this astral realm, souls find themselves drawn by magnetic law to regions that match their inner vibrations. The loving and kind-hearted awaken in luminous environments of joy and harmony, surrounded by kindred souls whose vibrations resonate with their own. Those whose lives were clouded by selfishness or cruelty may enter darker regions where they face the shadows of their own unhealed tendencies. Yet even there, divine mercy guides them toward redemption and growth. Family bonds are not dissolved in this higher existence. Because true family is a connection of souls bound by shared karma and divine friendship, many find themselves reunited with loved ones who have also shed their mortal forms. Imagine, beloved, a radiant garden where souls meet again, no longer aged, sick, or separated by misunderstanding, but glowing with recognition and love. They embrace not with physical arms, but with waves of joy flowing from soul to soul. Such reunions are real, and they are part of the divine order that comforts and uplifts every soul after death. Beyond the astral plane lies an even subtler realm, the causal world, a domain of pure thought and bliss. Here, the soul is no longer clothed even in light and energy, but exists as a spark of divine consciousness, free from the need for form. It is in this causal heaven that the soul begins to approach its highest destiny, preparing for eventual liberation into oneness with spirit. Yet many souls, by their own longing or unfinished karmic duties, return to the astral realm or even to earth for new incarnations. The astral and causal worlds are not eternal resting places, but way stations on the grand journey of evolution, where the soul learns, heals, and chooses its next steps toward ultimate freedom. Beloved, knowing this, you see now that death is not a cruel thief stealing your loved ones away. It is a gentle guide leading them into a higher classroom of divine experience, where they continue to grow and remember those they left behind. In truth, many do not wish to leave you entirely. From their vantage in the astral realm, they watch with love, sometimes returning in subtle ways to reassure and guide you. In our next step together, let us understand how these visiting souls move across the boundary between astral and earthly life, and how you might sense their presence even now, in whispers of intuition and unseen blessings carried to you on the winds of spirit. Beloved soul, now that we have journeyed together through the astral and causal realms, where the departed awaken after shedding the mortal body, let us turn our gaze back toward the earthly home they left behind. For many hearts still ache with a quiet question. Even if they are radiant and free in that higher world, do they remember us? Do they ever return to see the home where their laughter once echoed, the family they love so dearly? Or does death sever even the simplest earthly connection? Let me speak to you from the vision that divine wisdom bestows. Yes, beloved, souls can and often do visit their earthly families. Love, being of spirit, cannot be erased by the passage from body to astral light. In fact, freed from the limitations of flesh, many souls feel their bonds of affection even more deeply and purely than before. They remember every tender moment, every sacrifice, every silent prayer shared with their loved ones. These memories are not burdensome chains. They are luminous threads of divine magnetism that continue to unite families across realms. In the early stages after death, many souls linger close to their earthly homes, not as restless ghosts, but as gentle guardians moved by divine compassion. A mother who has departed may draw near to her children, feeling their tears and seeking to soothe their grief. A husband or wife may watch over their beloved partner, whispering words of comfort the physical ear cannot hear, but which the soul may sense as sudden waves of warmth, a fleeting fragrance once shared, or a dream so vivid it feels more real than waking life. This visiting is made possible because the astral body is not bound by walls, distance, or time. The soul can traverse realms with the speed of thought. Imagine, beloved, a traveler who has reached a shining city of light, yet still longs to send a letter back to the village where loved ones wait. In the astral world, no letter is needed. A single intention allows the soul to be present in the home they cherish. This presence is subtle but perceptible to hearts that are calm and open. There are divine laws governing these returns. Advanced souls, those who have awakened spiritually during earthly life or in the astral, can consciously bless and comfort family members, sending currents of peace that uplift the mind and spirit. They do so not to prolong earthly attachment, but to aid the living in releasing grief and turning toward higher understanding. In some cases, departed souls fulfill unspoken promises or unfinished duties through these visitations, guiding children in unseen ways, inspiring loved ones to make wise choices, or even preventing harm through sudden, intuitive warnings. Saints and masters have spoken of this countless times. Yogananda himself described how his own guru, Sri Yukteswar, visited him from the astral realm, radiant with divine light, speaking as tangibly as when alive in the body. This was no dream, but a conscious meeting beyond mortal limitations. If masters can appear so vividly, know that even ordinary souls, though less radiant, may still come quietly to sit beside you, to hold you in unseen arms of comfort. And yet, beloved, not every soul returns often. Some, having fulfilled their earthly ties and released attachments, soar quickly into higher regions where longing for physical connection is dissolved in divine bliss. They do not forget their loved ones, but they perceive connection in a new, more universal way. Like a drop of water merging into the ocean, they feel united with every soul, including their earthly family, without needing to appear physically. Whether they visit briefly or commune silently in spirit, no soul ever loses its love for you. Death cannot erase true bonds. Even now, as you listen to these words, your departed family members may be near, rejoicing that you are opening your heart to divine understanding. In the next part of our journey, we shall explore how karma weaves families together beyond a single lifetime, how the souls you have called father, mother, child, or friend may return to walk beside you again and again, helping one another grow in wisdom and love until, together, you ascend into the everlasting joy of divine reunion. Beloved, to understand why souls visit after death and why bonds seem to transcend even the limits of earthly lifetimes, we must look deeper into the divine tapestry that binds families together through the cosmic law of karma. Families are not accidental gatherings of strangers randomly placed in a household. They are eternal companions of the soul, traveling together like a caravan across the deserts of time, helping one another find the way back to the oasis of God's love. From lifetime to lifetime, karmic energy woven from our past actions, words, and thoughts acts as a sacred magnet, drawing souls back together to complete unfinished lessons, to repay debts of kindness or resolve conflicts, and most importantly, to deepen their capacity for divine love. A child born into your arms today may once have been your parent guiding you through life's lessons. A sibling you quarrel with may have been a companion in many past incarnations where both of you learned patience and forgiveness through the trials of shared experience. When we love someone deeply, when we form strong bonds of affection or even of pain, those vibrations do not end with the death of the body. They imprint upon the soul, resonating like a sacred echo that calls souls to reunite in future incarnations. Just as certain melodies played on an instrument cause another nearby to vibrate in harmony, so too does karmic resonance cause souls to find each other again. Many wonder why certain families seem bound by shared struggles, or why children sometimes display instincts and wisdom far beyond their years. Often this is because the family has been walking a shared spiritual journey for centuries, returning again and again to face similar lessons, refining one another like gold tested by fire. These bonds are not chains meant to imprison. They are threads of divine opportunity, allowing each soul to support the other's gradual ascent toward higher consciousness. True stories abound of young children recalling with stunning clarity events and relationships from past lives, remembering names, places, and even vows of love or duty shared with their current family members in another era. These are not fabrications of youthful imagination. They are glimpses of the soul's memory, a quiet confirmation that love weaves across lifetimes far more intricately than we can see in one human existence. Even when relationships are marked by conflict, these too are bound by karma. A rival in one life may return as a brother or sister in another, so that forgiveness, which was withheld before, can finally blossom. A parent who failed to protect or nurture a child may incarnate as a devoted offspring in another lifetime, fulfilling the love once denied. Such is the wisdom of divine law. It tirelessly arranges life's circumstances to heal every wound and perfect every bond until only pure, selfless love remains between souls. Beloved, this is why even after death, souls are drawn back to visit those they loved or hurt on earth. The unfinished threads of karma call them homeward like a beacon, urging reconciliation, protection, or simple reassurance that love endures beyond the grave. Sometimes, after dwelling for a time in the astral realms, the same soul may be reborn in the same family, returning not as a ghostly visitor but as a newborn child, a niece, a nephew walking once again through your home, so that you may continue your shared spiritual journey. When you understand this truth, fear of separation begins to dissolve. You see that no soul is ever truly lost to you. That divine law ensures you will meet again and again until every lesson is learned, every shadow transformed into light. The companions you cherish today are ancient friends of your soul. The children you cradle may have once cradled you. And long after this earthly drama has ended, you shall find one another in God's embrace, perfected and free, radiant with the joy of eternal reunion. Next, beloved, let us journey further into the mystery of spiritual evolution, where familial love expands beyond earthly roles. We shall see how the soul, freed from mortal attachment, awakens to a love so vast that it embraces not only family but all beings as expressions of the one eternal spirit. Beloved soul, as the wheel of karma turns and families reunite across lifetimes, a deeper transformation begins to unfold within each soul. Through these recurring bonds of mother and child, husband and wife, sister and brother, friend and companion, the soul gradually learns the lessons of compassion, sacrifice, patience, forgiveness, and divine service. Yet there comes a moment in the journey of evolution when love begins to transcend the boundaries of mortal relationships. A greater realization dawns, that every soul is kin, every being is family, for all are radiant sparks of the same infinite spirit. In the astral realms, where souls awaken after death, this higher truth begins to shine more clearly. Freed from the dense limitations of flesh, the departed feel love not only for their closest earthly companions, but for countless other souls with whom they share a spiritual resonance. In that luminous plane, communication flows silently through waves of understanding, and affection is no longer bound by words, bloodlines, or earthly memories. Souls recognize one another intuitively, as though remembering meetings that occurred not just in one life, but in many lives before, and even in realms beyond the physical. In this awakened state, familial bonds are not diminished, they are magnified and purified. The petty quarrels, misunderstandings, and imperfections of earthly relationships dissolve like morning mist, leaving only the pure essence of love. A soul may gaze upon one who was once a stern father or a misunderstood child, and see instead a radiant companion, walking beside them on the eternal pilgrimage toward God. Every shared joy and sorrow is understood in perfect clarity as part of the divine choreography designed to bring both souls closer to spiritual freedom. Yet this higher evolution brings something even greater. As the soul matures, it no longer feels love as belonging to a few chosen individuals. It begins to recognize the divine presence in every face, every creature, every atom of creation. Just as a river flowing toward the sea gradually merges with other streams, forgetting its smallness as it approaches the vast embrace of the ocean, so too does the soul's personal love expand into universal love. This is why the saints and masters are called fathers and mothers of all humanity. Having transcended ego and mortal limitation, their hearts beat not for a single family alone, but for all beings, known and unknown. Yogananda himself once said that his love was not confined to his earthly relatives, but that he felt each disciple, each seeker, as part of his own eternal family, tied together by the unbreakable thread of spirit. When a soul reaches this state of higher evolution, even if it returns to earthly life, its relationships are transformed. It may still walk as a parent or sibling, but its love is no longer bound by possessiveness or fear of loss. It loves with divine detachmenta, love that gives freely, without demanding return, a love that knows it can never be severed, for it flows directly from God, the source of all connection. In this way, mortal bonds are not destroyed but transfigured. What began as clinging attachment gradually becomes divine friendship, and what began as narrow, familial love blossoms into universal compassion. From this place of realization, death no longer casts a shadow. Whether loved ones are near or far, in body or beyond it, the awakened soul feels their presence ever near in spirit. Beloved, this is the destiny toward which karma and reincarnation gently guide every family. The lessons of love you experience with your earthly kin are stepping stones, leading you upward until one day you shall stand with them not as limited personalities bound by time and form, but as radiant beings united in God's eternal light. Next, let us explore the mysterious ways that communication continues across realms, even as souls ascend to these higher states. We shall see how, through meditation, prayer, and subtle intuition, living family members can commune with those who have departed, bridging the seeming gap between earth and astral heavens with the golden thread of divine consciousness. Beloved one, even as the soul ascends into the radiant expanses of the astral world, even as it begins to awaken to the higher currents of universal love, the ties of divine friendship with earthly family do not vanish like smoke in the wind. Love is not destroyed by spiritual growth. It becomes more refined, more radiant, and more powerful than ever. And because love is an energy of spirit, unbound by walls of flesh or barriers of matter, it can and often does reach back across realms to touch the hearts of those still walking the earthly path. In the astral plane, communication is not bound by voice or language. Souls there communicate through a direct sharing of thought and feeling, a communion so intimate and pure that even the deepest words of earthly speech seem pale by comparison. When such a soul wishes to comfort or bless its earthly family, it simply focuses its loving intention, and instantly, like a beam of golden light, its vibration travels across dimensions. The receptive heart of the living can feel this as a sudden warmth, a wave of peace, an inner knowing that the departed is near. Many grieving hearts have shared stories of dreams that felt more real than waking life visions, in which a departed loved one appeared radiant and full of life, offering words of comfort or guidance. Beloved, these are often not mere dreams but actual astral visitations. When the body sleeps, the soul partly withdraws from its physical shell and becomes more sensitive to the astral realm. In that state, departed souls can draw close, meeting their loved ones in luminous, dreamlike settings that allow for true reunion, even if only for a fleeting moment. Some, with heightened intuition or through the grace of meditation, can sense departed family members even while awake. They may feel an unseen presence in the room, hear a loving thought whispered silently in the mind, or experience sudden inspiration in moments of decision. This is because communication with souls is not a physical act. It is vibrational. When grief is quieted and the mind becomes still, the golden thread of divine love vibrates strongly enough to carry messages across the veil. Masters and saints speak of this reality often. Yogananda himself recounted meeting his departed mother in visions and sensing the guiding hand of his guru long after Sri Yukteswar had left the body. These experiences are not the product of imagination. They are glimpses of a spiritual law. Wherever there is true love, no distance, whether measured by miles or dimensions, can break communion. But beloved, there is an important key to this communication. Heavy grief and clinging sorrow can act like storm clouds that distort the clear signal of divine connection. Just as a radio cannot tune to a distant station amid loud interference, so the heart cannot easily feel astral blessings when overwhelmed by despair. It is natural to mourn, but the highest way to stay connected to departed souls is to uplift your own consciousness, to enter calm prayer, deep meditation, and loving remembrance. In those sacred moments of spiritual stillness, you align with the very vibration where departed souls dwell, and communion flows as naturally as sunlight through an open window. And know this also: prayer and meditation do not only help the living, they uplift the departed. When you send thoughts of light, peace, and divine joy toward a loved one who has passed, that soul feels it directly in the astral plane. Your prayers become a bridge of radiant energy, guiding them upward, soothing their journey, and reminding them that love has not been lost but transformed into something far more enduring. This is the holy secret of astral communion, that death cannot silence love's dialogue. Through dreams, through intuition, through meditation, the song of soul friendship continues to play softly between worlds, a melody composed not by words or actions but by the eternal harmony of spirit itself. Beloved, now that you understand how this golden thread allows souls to reach across realms, let us journey into the sacred practices that allow you to consciously help your departed loved ones and feel their blessings more clearly. Beloved seeker of eternal truth, having opened your heart to the understanding that death does not sever the golden thread of love between souls, you must now know that you are not helpless in your connection with those who have crossed into the astral world. Through prayer, meditation, and acts of selfless devotion, you can send them blessings that uplift their journey, soothe any unrest they may feel, and draw your hearts closer together in the silent language of spirit. When a loved one departs from the physical body, their soul begins adjusting to the luminous astral plane. Some souls, particularly those who were burdened by sorrow, regret, or confusion in earthly life, may initially feel disoriented or tethered to their past attachments. Others may rise quickly, joyfully taking on the lightness of their new astral form. Regardless of where they are on this journey, the loving prayers of family members on earth act as a divine current, guiding and comforting them as they navigate the unfamiliar terrain of life beyond matter. Consider prayer not as words flung into a distant heaven, but as radiant streams of energy flowing directly to the one you love. When your heart turns upward in sincere remembrance of God, and you think lovingly of your departed, your thoughts become living vibrations that travel instantaneously to them. Just as two tuning forks hum in harmony when one is struck, the vibration of your soul harmonizes with theirs, no matter the dimensional distance. The soul receiving these blessings feels warmth, light, and peace, like a child feeling its mother's gentle caress across the boundaries of a dream. To help your departed loved ones most effectively, approach prayer with stillness and faith. Sit in a quiet place, lift your eyes to the spiritual eye, and inwardly speak to God. Beloved Spirit, I offer thee my love for this soul. May thy light guide them. May thy joy surround them. May they awaken quickly to thy eternal peace. Feel as though your love and divine light are enveloping them completely, dissolving any shadows of fear or sorrow that might linger. When you do this with calm conviction, you become a true spiritual helper, a bridge through which divine grace can flow into their journey. Meditation is an even more powerful way to stay connected. When you enter the inner sanctuary of stillness, beyond restless thoughts and bodily awareness, you touch the very realm where departed souls dwell. In deep meditation, it is possible to sense their presence as flashes of light, waves of bliss, or silent words impressed upon your consciousness. Some experience a vision of their loved ones, smiling, radiant, assuring them that all is well. These are not fantasies, they are moments of soul-to-soul contact made possible because your consciousness has risen to meet theirs in spirit. Selfless acts of kindness done in their memory also create ripples that bless their soul. When you give food to the hungry, speak words of comfort to someone in need, or offer service to the world with a pure heart, and dedicate that merit to your departed family member, a portion of the spiritual upliftment generated by those acts reaches them instantly. Yogananda himself taught that prayers and good deeds offered for the departed are never lost. They strengthen their soul and speed their evolution toward divine light. And know this, beloved, as you help them, they too help you. From their astral vantage, they often watch over you, silently guiding you towards safety in moments of danger, sending sudden intuition to steer you away from harmful choices, or comforting you during trials. Though you may not always perceive it clearly, your departed loved ones remain guardians of your path, their love transformed into unseen acts of grace that shape your life gently from beyond the veil. This is the true nature of staying connected after death. It is not clinging in sorrow, but meeting one another in spirit's light, blessing each other with divine love that no mortal change can undo. When you embrace this higher way of communion, fear dissolves and grief softens, replaced by a serene confidence that you and your loved ones are journeying together still, each step bringing you closer to eternal reunion in God's joy. Beloved, let us now move toward the culmination of this sacred journey, where we glimpse the final truth, that death, separation, and even astral visits are but temporary chapters in the grand story of divine unity. In the highest realization of spirit, there is no parting, no searching, no longing, only everlasting oneness, where all souls meet as children of the infinite. Beloved, having walked with me through the veils of earthly death, through the radiant halls of the astral realms, and through the golden threads of karma that bind souls across lifetimes, let us now lift our gaze higher still to the summit of divine truth, where the final revelation of love's eternal nature is made clear. Every visit from a departed soul, every dream, Every unseen blessing that whispers to your heart is but a temporary bridge, a merciful reminder that love survives beyond death. Yet even these moments of connection are stepping stones toward a greater realization that in spirit there is no true separation at all. The soul's longing to visit family, the desire to return to earthly homes, and even the cycles of reincarnation are born from the perception that we are apart. But when divine wisdom fully dawns, this illusion vanishes like mist under the morning sun. In the highest states of consciousness where saints and liberated masters dwell, the soul knows itself as inseparable from the infinite. In that radiant awareness, there are no walls of dimension, no boundaries of birth or death, no gaps of time to bridge. All souls are seen as rays of the same eternal light, each shining uniquely yet inseparably part of the one. In this divine vision, to see one's soul is to see all. To love one is to embrace all in spirit's boundless heart. This is why the great masters could look upon strangers and call them brothers, sisters, children of eternity. Having awakened from the dream of separateness, they knew that the father you grieve for, the child you long for, the friend you believe you have lost all, are even now alive and luminous in the one cosmic embrace. In the silence of meditation, this truth can be felt directly. Beyond words, beyond form, you sense the living presence of every soul you have ever loved, not as distant beings, but as streams merging into the ocean of your own expanded consciousness. And beloved, in that ocean there is no possibility of losing one another ever again. Family bonds that were once limited to brief lifetimes on earth are transformed into eternal spiritual friendship. The pain of parting is dissolved forever, for there is nowhere that spirit does not unite you. This is the ultimate reunion, not in a single house on earth, not even in radiant gardens of the astral plane, but in God Himself, where every soul you cherish shines like a star within the infinite sky of divine bliss. The Masters assure us that this is not a poetic comfort meant to ease grief, but an unchanging spiritual law. Yogananda once said, "When you know yourself as the soul, you will realize that you and your loved ones were never truly apart. Through God consciousness, you will know them again not in shadow, but in their eternal splendor." So do not think of death as the closing of a door. Think of it as the final step in a long journey, leading all souls back into one celestial home. Every prayer you offer, every act of kindness, every meditation that lifts your consciousness toward the divine is a step closer to that eternal reunion. And when you arrive, when divine light fills you completely, you will look around and see not only your earthly family, but every soul that has walked beside you through the ages, now free, radiant, and rejoicing in the everlasting embrace of the infinite Father-Mother. Close your eyes now, beloved, and feel this truth not as words, but as living reality. Place your hands upon your heart and breathe slowly. Imagine golden rays of divine light expanding from within you, stretching across the universe, touching every soul you have ever loved. Feel them smiling, radiant, ageless, united with you in this very moment in spirit. Whisper silently, "We are one in God. We were never apart. Together, we live forever in the light of the eternal." Remain in this stillness for a moment. Let peace wash over you. Know that even now, your loved ones are near, not as shadows returning briefly to a fading world, but as everlasting companions walking with you toward the boundless joy of divine freedom. This is the final truth. The soul does not leave. The bond does not die. And in God's infinite light, all families are reunited for all eternity. Beloved one, let us now gather everything we have shared and weave it into a single, flowing river of truth. A message that moves without interruption, like the eternal current of spirit itself. When a loved one passes from this world, your heart aches as though a piece of you has been torn away. You stand by their resting place, hands trembling, whispering their name into a silence that feels impenetrable. In those moments, a question rises that no earthly comfort can answer. Where have they gone? Do they remember me? Will I ever feel their embrace again? The world, steeped in material vision, tells you that death is an ending, that the bond of love is severed, that you are now alone. But beloved, I come to tell you not from belief or imagination, but from divine realization. Love cannot die, the soul cannot perish, and even now, unseen eyes may be watching over you with tender devotion. Death is not the end of existence. It is merely a doorway, a gentle passage from one room of God's cosmic mansion into another. When the last breath leaves the body and the eyes close to this world, the soul awakens as from a long dream. No longer weighed down by flesh or bone, it rises into a realm of light, the astral world, where colors shine brighter, music flows like living rivers, and every movement is effortless as thought. There, souls who have loved one another are drawn together by divine magnetism, embracing again in joy, unclouded by earthly sorrows. In the astral plane, a departed mother holds her child once more, not with arms of flesh, but with waves of radiant love. A father meets his son, a friend finds his lifelong companion, and they speak without words, knowing each other completely in the silent language of spirit. Even if their earthly paths were marked by misunderstandings or pain, those burdens dissolve there like shadows fleeing the dawn, leaving only the truth of their bond, refined and eternal. Yet many souls do not remain distant from their earthly family. Freed from the body, they often turn back toward the home they left, moved by compassion and love. They can travel with the speed of thought, crossing the veil between worlds in an instant. Though unseen, they may stand beside your bed as you sleep, whispering peace into your dreams. You may feel them as a sudden warmth, a comforting presence, a fragrance long forgotten yet instantly familiar. These are not illusions. These are visits of the soul, quiet assurances that love remains and that separation is but an earthly shadow of a higher reality. In dreams, in moments of still intuition, you may even see them as they now are radiant, smiling, more alive than ever before. When this happens, know that your soul has risen partly into their realm for a fleeting moment, bridging the gulf of perception that death seems to create. The departed long to comfort the living, to tell you, I am not gone. I see you. I love you still. And through meditation and prayer, you too can send them blessings that they feel directly, guiding them gently along their luminous journey toward higher worlds. This bond of connection does not end after one lifetime. Karma, the divine law of cause and effect, draws souls together across many incarnations, like threads weaving through the fabric of time. The child you cradle may have once been your parent. The sister you quarrel with may have been a rival in another age. The friend who seems to understand you without words may have walked beside you through lifetimes of shared joy and sorrow. Families are eternal caravans of souls, journeying together through earth and astral worlds, learning, forgiving, and deepening their love until it becomes pure, selfless, and divine. As the soul evolves spiritually, love begins to transcend the boundaries of mortal attachment. In higher realms of consciousness, familial bonds are not erased but magnified and purified. You will look upon those you once called mother or son and see them not as separate individuals bound only by blood, but as radiant companions, divine sparks of God traveling with you toward liberation. And as this realization expands, love grows universal, embracing not just a few but all beings as brothers and sisters in the one cosmic family of spirit. Even now, while you walk this earthly path, you can touch this truth. In meditation, when the mind grows still and the heart turns upward in devotion, the veil between worlds begins to lift. In the silent depths of spirit, you may feel the living presence of those you thought you lost. Without words or form, their essence merges with yours, and you know beyond all doubt that separation has never truly existed. In your prayers, send them love. Visualize them bathed in golden light, freed of pain and sorrow, rising in joy toward divine freedom. As you do this, you uplift them, helping their soul move swiftly toward higher realms of bliss. And when you act with kindness, when you serve others selflessly, dedicate these merits to their soul, knowing that your love reaches them instantly, blessing them beyond earthly measure. But beloved, these comforts, these visitations, dreams, prayers, and karmic reunions are only glimpses of a greater destiny. One day, through spiritual awakening, you will see with the same divine vision as the masters. You will realize that there has never been a moment of true separation, not even in death. In the expanded consciousness of spirit, you will behold all souls you have ever loved, shining as stars within the boundless sky of your own eternal being. This is the promise of God, that no love is wasted, no soul is lost, and in the end, every family, every friendship, every bond of true affection is gathered into the infinite embrace of divine joy. The mansion of eternity has many rooms, but all doors lead to the same cosmic home, where you and your loved ones will meet again, perfected in light, free from sorrow, rejoicing forever as radiant children of the infinite. Close your eyes now, place your hands upon your heart and breathe softly. Imagine golden rays of light expanding from your soul, touching every face you have ever loved, whether living or departed. Feel them near you now, not as shadows of memory, but as living presences entwined eternally with your own. Whisper silently, "We are one in spirit. We have never been apart. Together, we live forever in God's light." Remain in this stillness for a moment. Let peace fill every corner of your being. Know, beloved, that even now, your departed loved ones are near, not as fragile echoes returning briefly to a fading world, but as eternal companions walking with you toward the boundless joy of divine freedom. Death cannot touch this truth. Separation cannot obscure this light. In God's infinite love, all souls are united, now and forevermore. Beloved soul, take a deep, slow breath now. And as you do, let us allow these truths to sink deeper, not merely as words heard by the mind, but as a living vibration felt in the heart and the very breath of your being. Inhale gently and think silently, "I am eternal spirit." Hold that breath for a moment, feeling its stillness, and then exhale slowly with the inner whisper, "Death cannot touch me." Pause here in this calm. In this stillness, imagine the faces of your loved ones, those who walk beside you now, and those who have stepped through the invisible doorway of death. With another deep breath, silently affirm, "You are with me still. We are one in God's love." As you breathe out, release the weight of grief, surrendering it into the hands of the divine, trusting that the golden thread of love binds you forever to those souls. Let these breath prayers guide you into inner communion. Inhale, "We have never been apart." Hold, feel their presence in the silent light of spirit. Exhale, "Together we walk toward eternal joy." Again, inhale, "I send you love." Hold, imagine streams of radiant light flowing from your heart into theirs across the astral sky. Exhale, "And I feel your blessings returning to me." Each breath you take in this way becomes a bridge between worlds. Each silent affirmation, a key unlocking a door that no earthly wall or cosmic veil can close. If you practice this daily in stillness, you will find that the presence of those you have loved and lost is not truly lost at all. It is felt more clearly than before, for it vibrates in the inner sanctuary of the soul. Now, beloved, gently lift your gazana with the physical eyes, but inwardly, toward the divine point between the eyebrows, the spiritual eye. In silent prayer say, "Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, beloved Spirit, let me feel Thee in those I love, and let me feel them in Thee. Let no death nor passage of time separate us from the one eternal flame of Thy presence." Rest in this prayer for a moment, breathing softly, letting peace settle upon you like a warm mantle. Feel now that your entire being is luminous, surrounded by a sphere of golden light. In that light, see the smiling faces of those you thought you had lost. They are not gone, they are rays of the same sun, shining beside you. You may sense their silent blessings, their joy, knowing that you have turned inward to find them in spirit. Together, you all rest in this eternal light, bathed in divine comfort, held forever in the embrace of the infinite. Finally, beloved, affirm with me, "I am not a body, I am the eternal soul. My loved ones and I are bound forever in divine love. Death is but a shadow. In God's light, we are eternally one." Breathe these truths into every cell of your being until they become unshakable, not mere beliefs, but your living reality. Let this realization accompany you into every dawn, every sunset, every moment of remembrance. And know that as you grow closer to the divine, the bond with your departed family deepens, not fades, until the day comes when, in full spiritual awakening, you shall see them not as fleeting figures from the past, but as radiant souls walking with you in the everlasting garden of spirit. Beloved, as we move deeper into this divine revelation, let us allow the very rhythm of our breath and the quiet pulse of the soul to guide this final ascent toward understanding and peace. The truths we have spoken are not meant to linger only in the intellect. They are living vibrations meant to be absorbed, breathed in like celestial nectar, and anchored in the eternal consciousness that you truly are. Take a slow breath now and imagine that you are no longer confined to the walls of this room, this moment in time, or even this physical body. As you inhale, feel your consciousness expand like an infinite sky. The sorrow of separation that weighed upon you begins to dissolve like clouds before the morning sun. Hold the breath gently and silently affirm, I am more than this mortal frame. I am a child of eternity. Then exhale with a soft whisper from your soul. In spirit, nothing is lost, nothing is broken. Visualize yourself standing in a radiant field of golden light. In this divine expanse, you see pathways of shimmering energy connecting you to every soul you have ever loved. Some still walk with you on earth, others have stepped into the astral gardens beyond the veil. Yet all these pathways meet in a single, brilliant, Sunthi infinite spirit, shining at the center of this field. Inhale again, feeling that light entering your being. Hold it within and know, this is our eternal meeting place, this is home. Exhale, releasing all fear, all grief, letting your soul rest in that celestial assurance. Beloved, as your consciousness rises higher, imagine now that you are joined by those dear ones who have passed from this earthly stage. See their forms glowing with youthful radiance, free from every earthly ailment and sorrow. Feel their arms, not of flesh but of living light, embrace you with a love more powerful than anything words could convey. You look into their eyes and see not sadness, not regret, but the eternal joy of spirit, recognizing spirit. In that moment, you know beyond all doubt, death was never a parting, only a temporary illusion. Breathe with me again. Inhale. Love unites us forever. Hold, sensing their presence glowing within your heart. Exhale. We walk together toward divine freedom. Now, beloved, lift your gaze once more to the inner spiritual eye. In that silent stillness, imagine a divine hand resting gently upon your head, a hand that carries the power of all saints and masters, of angels and heavenly guides who have watched over you since before time began. Feel divine grace pouring through that touch, healing every wound of separation, every shadow of grief. Silently affirm, with God's light, I am whole. With God's joy, my family and I are forever one. As you sit bathed in this grace, realize that this moment is not only a vision but a preview of the final liberation awaiting every soul. There will come a day, beloved, when the journey of lifetimes concludes, when every karmic bond is untangled, and every soul you cherish is gathered together in the boundless light of spirit. No more births, no more deaths, no more partings, only the unbroken music of divine joy resounding through eternity. Let us seal this journey with a final affirmation. I am eternal spirit. My loved ones and I are forever united in God's light. Death cannot touch divine love. We live together in everlasting freedom. Sit now in perfect stillness, letting these truths permeate every breath and thought. Feel your soul shining brighter than the sun, radiating love to all beings, living and departed. Know this truth forever. When you die, or when your loved ones leave before you, no distance, no veil, no darkness can sever the divine bond that ties you together. In spirit, you have never been apart, and you never shall be. Beloved soul, as this sacred journey draws toward its completion, let us now enter the deepest stillness where words fall away and only the vibration of spirit remains. What we have explored is not merely a teaching to be remembered, it is an eternal experience to be lived, a truth that must seep into every fiber of your being until it becomes as natural as the beating of your heart or the breath that moves quietly within you. Close your eyes now, beloved. Lift your gaze gently to the point between your eyebrows, where the light of the soul silently shines. As you inhale, imagine drawing in a current of golden divine light. Feel this light filling your chest, washing away the last shadows of fear and sorrow. Hold this breath gently, as though you are holding eternity itself, and silently affirm, I am eternal spirit, untouched by death, unbroken by time. As you exhale, release all doubt, all grief, all questions into the radiant arms of God. In thy love, all souls are one. In thy light, we are forever reunited. Now, beloved, imagine yourself standing on the threshold of this earthly world. Before you lies a shimmering bridge of light, stretching beyond sight, leading into realms of celestial beauty and boundless peace. As you step onto this bridge, you feel a presence approaching. One by one, souls you have loved, whether they still walk the earth or have crossed beyond, appear before you in radiant astral forms. They smile, glowing with youth and vitality, their eyes filled with divine joy. You walk together hand in hand, knowing no fear, no separation. Each step carries you higher, lighter, freer, until at last you reach the end of the bridge where a great ocean of divine light spreads infinitely before you. Here, beloved, there is no you and them, no living and departed. There is only spirit, boundless, formless, eternal. You feel every loved one as waves of joy rising from this cosmic ocean, and you know yourself also as that joy, indivisible, everlasting. From this state of divine realization, you look back upon the dramas of life and death and see them for what they are: gentle dreams within the mind of God, meant only to teach, to awaken, to draw every soul into this one eternal home. Take another slow breath, feeling this truth not as imagination but as a living presence. Inhale deeply and silently affirm, I and my loved ones are rays of one eternal light. Hold this breath in reverence, sensing that you are breathing not air but spirit itself. Exhale softly, forever united in God, forever free in divine joy. Beloved, this is the final gift of understanding, that you have never truly lost anyone, and you never will. The souls you love are not wandering in distant darkness, they are carried in the very breath of spirit, intertwined with your own essence like golden threads in the same eternal tapestry. When your own time comes to leave this world, you will not step into a cold unknown, but into the radiant embrace of every soul you have ever cherished, meeting them not in shadow but in light, not in fleeting dreams but in everlasting freedom. Sit now in silent gratitude. Place your hands over your heart and feel its quiet rhythm. With each beat, know that divine love is pulsing through you, connecting you to every soul across all worlds. Whisper softly within, thank you, Divine Mother, for eternal love. Thank you for uniting all souls in thy light. Guide me to live this truth and to carry thy peace to others who grieve, that they too may awaken to our eternal bond. Remain in this silence for as long as you wish, bathing in the certainty of Spirit's promise. There is no true separation, not now, not ever. The journey of the soul is endless, the bond of love unbreakable, and in the infinite heart of God, we are all one, forevermore. Beloved soul, God is not a distant monarch seated on some unreachable throne, far removed from the struggles of your daily life. He is not a silent observer, indifferent to your pleas or blind to your tears. No, He is closer than the very breath that now moves gently through your body, nearer than the beat of your heart, listening always with perfect love, waiting patiently for you to speak with Him, not through rote words recited without feeling, nor through ritual performed without understanding, but through the living dialogue of soul with spirit, the tender communion that saints and yogis have known throughout the ages. And yet, most who long for His guidance feel as though their prayers vanish into a void, as though heaven remains locked and silent. This is not because God is far away, but because humanity has forgotten how to truly speak with Him. Today, I wish to share with you the way to speak with God directly, not tomorrow, not in some future after death or after years of searching, but here, in this very moment. There is no barrier between you and your Maker, except the restless waves of your own mind that drown out the whisper of spirit. Imagine a radio, its dial turned away from the correct frequency. Though the broadcast is strong and constant, you hear only static. So it is with the human soul. God's voice is ever sounding in the quiet depths of your being, but the noise of worldly desires and ceaseless thoughts keeps you from hearing. This path I will give you now is the tuning of your consciousness, the clearing of static, the opening of the inner ear that allows you to not only speak to God but to feel His loving reply. When you speak to another person on earth, you do not shout meaningless phrases into the wind and then walk away. You approach them face to face, your heart engaged, your voice clear, your intention steady. To speak with God requires even more sincerity. The mind must become calm, the heart must burn with love, and the soul must lift itself upward to the level where divine communion can occur. God does not answer the prayers of the tongue alone, nor the scattered whispers of an unsteady heart. But when the prayer of your entire being rises like incense from the altar of devotion, the gates of heaven swing wide open, and you know that you are heard. Beloved, let us first still the obstacles that keep this divine dialogue from blossoming. The greatest barrier is the chattering mind, always busy, forever rushing to solve worldly problems, tangled in fear and craving. When the mind runs unchecked, it is like muddy water that cannot reflect the radiant sun of divine presence. The ego, too, blocks this sacred communion, for when a man believes he is separate from God, a frail mortal struggling alone, his words are clouded with doubt, tinged with demands born of insecurity. Even when one tries to pray, impatience makes him speak quickly, expecting an immediate answer in human terms, then feeling abandoned when silence greets his request. But that silence is not rejection. It is God's invitation to go deeper, to quiet the noise of self so that the eternal song of spirit may be heard. Now let us prepare the soul to rise above these obstacles. Sit upright wherever you are, spine straight as a temple pillar, shoulders relaxed, hands resting gently upon your knees or folded in your lap. Close your eyes and feel the body growing still, like a lake at dawn. Take a deep, slow breath through the nose, drawing it deeply into your abdomen, holding it softly for a moment, then releasing it through the mouth like a sigh of surrender. Again, inhale light, filling every cell with calm energy, hold, and exhale all restlessness and tension. With each breath, feel your mind clearing, your heart softening, your entire being becoming a vessel ready to hold divine love. Lift your inner gaze gently to the point between your eyebrows, the spiritual eye, the sacred doorway through which the soul communes with spirit. Here, imagine a soft golden light glowing, warm and gentle, like the morning sun touching the horizon. In this stillness, silently call to God, not with elaborate words but as you would call to the dearest friend of your heart. Beloved Father, Mother Divine, I have wandered long, seeking joy in fleeting things. Speak to me now in the language of my soul. Let me feel thy presence as surely as I feel my own breath. Do not force these words. Let them flow with sincerity, even if your voice trembles or tears rise to your eyes. Remain in this silent prayer for a few moments, and as you do, listen not with your ears, but with the quiet awareness of your spirit. Divine response rarely comes as a thunderous voice echoing from the heavens. More often, it comes as a sudden wave of peace that bathes your mind, as a warmth blooming in the heart, as a lightness in the breath that feels like unseen hands lifting you higher. These are not products of imagination. They are the living touch of God, who speaks not in human language, but in the vibrations of joy, love, and deep stillness. Beloved, do not think that this sacred conversation is meant only for saints or rare souls chosen by fate. You too are a divine child, carrying within you the same capacity to know your Creator as any prophet or master. The more you practice this inner stillness, the more clearly you will hear. Begin each day by withdrawing from worldly clamor, sitting quietly with your eyes lifted to spirit, speaking gently from your heart, then waiting in reverent silence for the divine reply. Let your words be few, your longing be great, and your listening be patient. Over time, you will find that this dialogue becomes natural, continuous, flowing like a river through your daily life. In the next part of our journey together, I shall lead you deeper into the sacred technique by which countless saints and yogis have spoken with God directly, method that transforms prayer from spoken request into divine communion, where you not only speak, but truly hear the eternal friend whispering in the sanctuary of your soul. Beloved soul, as you rest in this quiet stillness, know that true conversation with God begins not with words but with the opening of the heart's inner chamber. When you speak to Him, do not imagine a distant monarch you must beg for mercy or favor. See instead a loving friend, a beloved closer than your own thoughts, who has never left your side. Even when you turned away in forgetfulness, even when worldly duties drowned your yearning, His presence remained constant, waiting for you to remember and return to Him. This understanding transforms prayer from an act of pleading into an intimate, soul-to-soul dialogue, where love flows naturally, without fear, without hesitation. To speak directly with God, you must first attune yourself to His silent language. Ordinary speech is made of sound and breath, vibrating in the physical realm. But God's conversation moves in higher currents, through intuition, through divine feeling, through the quiet knowing that blossoms when thought subsides. Imagine standing beside a tranquil lake. When the water is stirred by wind, the surface reflects nothing, but when calm returns, it mirrors the sky perfectly. So it is with your mind and heart. When stilled through meditation and devotion, they reflect divine guidance with crystal clarity. Sit with me now in this shared moment of sacred practice. Once again, close your eyes and gently lift your gaze to the spiritual eye, the center of divine communion. Let your breath become slow and rhythmic, like the gentle tide of a peaceful sea. Inhale silently for a count of 6, feeling a subtle light rising from the base of your spine toward the forehead. Hold the breath briefly, sensing that light collecting as a radiant flame. Exhale softly for another count of 6, letting go of every shadow of doubt, fear, or distraction. Repeat this a few times, each cycle deepening your stillness, each exhalation clearing the path to divine presence. Now, with your heart fully awake and your mind quiet, whisper inwardly, not aloud, but in the language of thought and longing, "Beloved God, I know thou art here. I no longer call to a faraway heaven. I speak to thee within my own soul, for this body is thy temple, and my very life is thy eternal breath." Feel these words not as mere affirmations, but as living truth. Imagine your soul as a child returning home after a long journey, running into the arms of its eternal parent. There are no barriers here, no judgment, only the sweetest embrace of divine recognition. Remain in this prayerful silence. Resist the urge to strain for an answer. Do not demand a voice or a sign. Instead, cultivate the receptive stillness of a listening heart. God speaks most clearly when we stop speaking ourselves. Perhaps you will feel a wave of warmth washing over you, or a blissful shiver rising along your spine. Perhaps a quiet joy will settle in your chest, as though a hidden lamp has been lit there. These are his replies, subtle yet undeniable. Over time, you will come to recognize them as distinctly as you recognize the sound of a loved one's voice. To deepen this divine conversation, offer your love repeatedly, as a steady stream flowing towards spirit. Silently chant God's name, "Beloved, beloved," letting it pulse gently with each heartbeat. If thoughts intrude, return to the chant, letting it anchor you in devotion. With every repetition, feel that you are not simply calling to God but opening a door through which His love enters more freely. Saints and masters have walked this same path, using this sacred repetition to dissolve the wall between human and divine, until only love remains, until every breath feels like a direct conversation with eternity itself. Beloved, speaking with God is not a ritual you perform only at dawn or in temples. It is a living relationship meant to fill every moment of your existence. As you walk through your day, keep a portion of your mind lifted to Him. When you witness beauty, silently say, "I see thee in this." When trials come, whisper inwardly, "Guide me, Lord. I am listening." When joy arises, share it instantly. "Thank you, divine friend, for this gift." In this way, your life transforms into a continuous dialogue with Spirit, until even in the busiest hours you feel accompanied, guided, and unshaken by the storms of this world. And know this final truth. When you speak to God with sincerity, love, and the stillness of soul, the divine answer is never absent. It may not come as words, nor in the exact way your human expectations demand, but it always arrives in the intuition that solves a dilemma, in the courage that appears when you need it most, in the radiant joy that suddenly floods your heart without reason. These are God's replies, unmistakable to the soul that listens. In the next part of our sacred journey, I shall guide you step by step into the profound method that saints and yogis use to enter this divine dialogue completely, where breath, mind, and heart align with spirit, and the living voice of God is heard not only in meditation, but as the unbroken music of your soul's eternal friendship with Him. Beloved one, to truly understand how to speak with God directly, you must know the sacred science of aligning every aspect of your being, body, mind, heart, and soul into perfect harmony with the divine vibration. Many attempt to talk to God using only words, thinking that if they repeat enough prayers or recite beautiful phrases, they will gain His attention. But true communion is not born of outward sound. It is born of inward transformation. Words are only the faint echo of the soul's deeper call. When you learn to unite breath, devotion, and stillness, The call becomes clear, and God cannot help but respond, for He already lives within you, listening through the temple of your own consciousness. Begin by preparing your body, for the body is the vessel through which the energy of spirit must flow freely if divine conversation is to be heard. Sit tall, as though a string of light were pulling gently upward from the crown of your head. Let your shoulders relax and your hands rest upon your lap, palms open, ready to receive divine grace. Keep your spine straight and still, for the spine is the altar upon which the sacred fire of energy ascends, carrying your devotion upward to the throne of the infinite. When your posture is calm and steady, the restless currents of the body quiet, and the gateway to higher consciousness begins to open. Next, turn to your breath. Breath is the bridge between body and soul, between thought and spirit. The more restless your breath, the more scattered your mind. The more still and refined your breath, the more clearly you can feel God's presence. Close your eyes and inhale gently through the nose to a slow count of 6. Feel that breath traveling upward through your spine, like a river of light carrying prayers heavenward. Hold the breath softly for a moment, sensing a quiet energy gathering behind the forehead. Then exhale slowly for the same count, imagining every worry, every worldly attachment flowing out and dissolving into nothingness. Repeat this cycle several times, allowing each round to take you deeper into tranquility. Now bring your focus to the spiritual eye, the sacred center between the eyebrows. This is not merely a physical point, it is the seat of divine vision, the doorway through which you step into higher realms of consciousness. As you gently lift your gaze there, imagine a radiant star of golden light shining brightly, a beacon guiding you home to God. With every inhalation, feel yourself moving closer to that light. With every exhalation, feel yourself merging more completely with it, as though your soul is dissolving into pure brilliance. With your body stilled, your breath harmonized, and your gaze fixed upon the divine light, begin to silently call upon God. But do not use words of fear or demand. Speak as a loving child to the most tender parent, as a devoted friend to the truest beloved. Inwardly whisper, "Divine friend, reveal thyself to me. I long not for worldly riches or fleeting pleasures. I long only for thee. Let me hear thy voice in the silence of my soul. Let me feel thy presence in the depth of my being." Pour every ounce of sincerity into this inner prayer, letting it rise from your heart like a fragrant offering upon the altar of spirit. After you have spoken these words, resist the temptation to continue asking, pleading, or thinking. Instead, surrender completely into silence. True conversation with God is a two-way communion, and now is the time to listen. Still your thoughts, as though you are waiting in a vast, holy temple, where even the faintest whisper of the divine can be heard. Do not expect sound or language as you know it. Expect only to feel. You may sense a warm current of joy spreading through your chest, a serene peace enveloping your mind, or a subtle vibration of love shimmering through your body. These are not mere sensations. They are the living answer of God, responding to your call, assuring you that you are heard, that you are loved beyond measure. Beloved, remain in this silent communion for as long as you can, letting go of time and expectation. If thoughts arise, do not struggle. Simply return to the breath, to the light at the spiritual eye, to the gentle mantra of, "Beloved, reveal thyself." The more you practice this sacred technique, the stronger the connection becomes, until one day you will sit in meditation and feel, without question, that God Himself is within you, listening, speaking, guiding every thought and breath of your existence. In the next section of our journey, we shall move beyond this meditation seat and learn how to carry this living dialogue into every moment of your life. For the ultimate goal is not to speak with God only during stillness, but to walk in constant conversation with the divine, whether you are in prayer, at work, in joy, or in trial, until every breath becomes a prayer, and every moment a reply from the eternal friend. Beloved soul, now that you have felt even a glimpse of what it is like to sit in silent communion with the infinite, understand this well. Speaking with God is not meant to be confined to the quiet hours of dawn or the sanctuary of your meditation room. Though these are sacred times and places where you train your awareness to rise toward spirit, the purpose of such practice is to transform the entirety of your life into an unbroken dialogue with the divine. Just as a river flows continuously toward the ocean, so too should your heart flow ceaselessly toward God, carrying every thought, every action, every breath as an offering of communion. Imagine walking through your day as if hand in hand with an invisible, ever-loving friend. In every joy that lifts your spirit, silently whisper, "Beloved, I feel your happiness dancing within me." In every challenge or sorrow, breathe deeply and say, "Divine friend, guide me. Let me not face this alone." When success crowns your efforts, bow inwardly and affirm, "It is thy grace that moves through me." When the world misunderstands you or shadows of fear descend, retreat inwardly to that sacred temple of stillness you have built in meditation, and hear God's voice assuring you, "Be not afraid, for I am with you." This unbroken dialogue is not achieved by forcing constant thoughts of God into the mind. Rather, it is cultivated by attunement, by keeping a subtle thread of awareness lifted to the spiritual eye throughout the day. As you walk, as you work, as you speak to others, hold quietly in the background of your consciousness the remembrance that God's presence surrounds and permeates all things. This is the sacred practice of practicing the presence of God, and it transforms even the simplest tasks into divine conversations. When you lift a cup of water to your lips, silently say, "Beloved, I drink of thy joy." When you look into another's eyes, think, "Lord, it is you shining through this soul." In this way, you are not just thinking of God, you are speaking to him in the silent, radiant language of living remembrance. Beloved, as you maintain this sacred connection, you will begin to feel an extraordinary change. Intuition awakens. Intuition is the direct perception of truth, the channel through which God's voice flows most clearly into human consciousness. Unlike reason, which struggles and calculates, intuition knows instantly, without words or effort. It is the quiet guide that warns you when danger nears, that inspires noble actions without hesitation, that reveals solutions no intellect could devise. This is one of the most precious ways God speaks to you, not through thunderous pronouncements from the heavens, but through the still, small voice of intuitive wisdom rising within your soul. To nurture intuition, continue your practice of meditation, for it is in stillness that the subtle whispers of spirit can be felt. Each time you withdraw your energy from outward distractions and focus it upward toward the divine light, you sharpen your inner hearing. Over time, your heart will become like a finely tuned instrument, resonating with divine guidance so clearly that you will recognize God's responses even in the midst of worldly noise. Whether through a sudden feeling of peace, a quiet knowing in times of decision, or a wordless sense of being led along unseen pathways, you will understand that the conversation you began in silence continues without interruption, shaping every step of your earthly journey. Remember, beloved, that this constant dialogue is not limited to lofty spiritual thoughts alone. God is interested in every detail of your life, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. Speak to him about your struggles at work, your concerns for your family, your hopes for the future, your gratitude for the blessings you enjoy. Share your laughter with him as readily as your tears. Treat him as the closest of companions, for that is what he longs to be. And as you speak to him in this intimate, heartfelt way, you will gradually find that his love speaks back to you in every moment, not only during meditation, but in the living rhythm of your daily existence. Beloved soul, in the next part of this sacred journey, I will guide you into the signs by which you can know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that God has answered your call. We will explore how his responses come as waves of peace, as inner strength during trials, as sudden illumination in darkness, and even as visions and sounds of divine light and music. In this way, you will learn to recognize that your dialogue with the eternal friend is never one-sided, but a living, ongoing exchange of love between the immortal soul and the infinite spirit. Beloved one, when you open your heart fully and speak with God directly, you may at first wonder if your words have reached him, if your longing has truly been felt by the infinite. This is a natural question, born of lifetimes spent believing that God is distant and silent. But I tell you with certainty, no sincere prayer, no loving thought, no cry from the soul ever goes unheard. Divine law is absolute. When the child calls to the parent with pure devotion, the parent's response is immediate, though it may not yet be recognized by human senses. Let me reveal to you the sacred ways in which God answers. The first sign is peace, a deep, unshakable calm that descends like a gentle cloud upon your heart and mind. This peace does not depend on outward conditions. Even if storms rage around you, even if challenges press heavily upon your life, you will feel a serene stillness that cannot be explained by reason. This is God's first whisper. I am here. Be still, for I am holding you. Whenever you feel this sudden peace in prayer or meditation, know that you have truly spoken to God and that He has heard you. The second sign of divine response is joy and inner happiness that wells up without cause, like a spring flowing freely from hidden depths. This joy may appear suddenly, even in the midst of sorrow, as if an unseen hand has lifted a veil from your soul, allowing you to glimpse its eternal nature. This is God's voice saying, Beloved, you are not alone. You are my own joy made manifest. Walk with me and feel this bliss evermore. Many seekers mistake this joy for fleeting emotion, but if you turn inward and focus upon it, you will find it to be steady, luminous, and transformative. A third sign is intuitive guidance. Often, when you pray for direction or understanding, God's answer comes not as a voice from above, but as a quiet certainty that rises within you. A path that seemed confused suddenly becomes clear. A solution to a problem appears in a flash of insight. A burden you carried heavily now feels light, as though you have been silently assured of the right step to take. This guidance is not imagination. It is the living wisdom of spirit flowing through your awakened intuition. Trust it, for it is God speaking directly to your soul. In some moments of deep stillness, God's response may also come as subtle divine experiences. A shimmering light seen at the spiritual eye, a celestial sound of Aum humming within your consciousness, or even the vision of a saint or radiant presence in meditation. These are gifts of grace, signs that your communion has touched the higher realms of spirit. Do not seek them with restless desire, for they come naturally as the fruits of sincere devotion and meditation. When they do appear, remain humble and receptive, knowing that these are sacred touches meant to draw you closer into the divine embrace. Beloved, never doubt that God speaks to you. The entire universe is alive with His responses through the beauty of nature, through the love of others, through unexpected blessings, and even through trials that teach the soul deeper strength and faith. When you have opened a true channel of conversation with the divine, you will begin to see every experience, every encounter, as part of that dialogue. A moment of kindness from a stranger may feel like a personal message from God. A challenge overcome may feel like divine reassurance of His guiding hand. The more you practice, the clearer these signs become, until at last you no longer wonder if He hears you. You feel His living presence guiding you in every breath. Now, beloved soul, we will journey further into the practice of living in unbroken dialogue with God, not only recognizing His replies, but learning to remain in a state of continuous inner conversation, where the soul and spirit are never parted, and where silence itself becomes the sweetest language shared with the infinite friend. Beloved soul, as your heart begins to awaken to the reality that God is not only hearing you, but is continually responding in countless subtle ways, you will naturally feel a desire to remain in this sacred dialogue always. And this is indeed the highest aim of the spiritual journey, to reach a state where you are never apart from Him, where even as you move through this world, your inner being remains anchored in the presence of the divine friend. To achieve this state of unbroken communion, you must learn to merge your thoughts, your breath, and your very sense of self into the silent rhythm of spirit. This state cannot be attained by willful force or outward effort. It blossoms gently, like a lotus opening in the calm waters of meditation. As you rise each morning, before the duties of the day pull you outward, set aside time to enter the inner sanctuary. Sit in stillness, spine erect, breath quiet, eyes lifted to the spiritual eye. Begin by offering gratitude for another day to draw nearer to God. For each sunrise is a fresh opportunity to renew your friendship with Him. Silently tell Him, Beloved, I begin this day in Thy presence. Walk with me in every thought, in every breath, in every moment. As you deepen into meditation, this intention lays a thread of remembrance that follows you long after you leave your seat of prayer. Throughout the day, nurture this remembrance by returning inwardly to God as often as possible. When you pause between tasks, silently feel His presence in your heart. When you breathe, let each inhalation carry the word God, and each exhalation softly whisper, beloved, until your very breathing feels like a mantra of devotion. When challenges arise, do not allow anxiety to drag you away from this inner dialogue. Instead, close your eyes briefly if you can. Lift your gaze inwardly and say, Lord, guide me. I am listening. This simple act of turning inward transforms every circumstance into an opportunity to converse with Him. At first, you may forget often, pulled into the restless currents of worldly activity. Do not despair, for even the smallest moments of remembrance are powerful. Think of a long-lost friend you suddenly recall in the midst of your busy life, how your heart softens, how warmth fills your mind at the thought of them. Each time you remember God, even for an instant, your soul sends out a signal of love that the divine answers immediately with grace and silent blessing. Over time, these moments of remembrance grow longer and more frequent until they weave together into a seamless awareness of divine companionship. Beloved, when this inner conversation becomes unbroken, a wondrous transformation occurs. The boundaries between your voice and God's voice begin to dissolve. You speak, and He listens. He speaks, and you know it is not separate from your own deepest intuition. You realize that every wise thought, every noble impulse, every act of love flowing through you is not merely your own doing, it is God Himself moving and expressing through you. At this stage, prayer no longer feels like sending words into a vast silence. It feels like an effortless exchange within your very being, a natural communion as intimate as breath itself. Even in sleep, this dialogue continues. The soul, partly freed from the body, remains attuned to spirit, drawing strength and guidance that awakens with you in the morning as renewed peace and clarity. Thus, day by day, the invisible wall that once stood between you and God crumbles away, until you find yourself living as a radiant channel of divine presence, constantly aware that you and the Beloved have never been separate. In the next part of this journey, I shall lead you into the final understanding of this sacred practice, how, through persistent devotion and meditation, the soul moves beyond speaking to God and enters the highest state of speaking as God, where the drop merges into the ocean of spirit and divine communion becomes eternal union. Beloved soul, as you walk further along this inner path and your dialogue with God deepens, there comes a sacred turning point, a moment when you begin to realize that speaking with Him is no longer a two-way conversation between two separate beings. In the beginning, you prayed as a child calls to a distant parent. Then you learned to hear His replies as intuition, peace, and joy flowing quietly into your heart. But as this relationship matures, as your devotion and stillness draw you closer to the eternal source, you awaken to a profound truth. You and God have never been apart. The voice you thought was yours, and the voice you thought was His, are threads of the same eternal sound, woven together by spirit. Imagine a drop of water falling into the ocean. At first, it believes itself a small, trembling bead, distinct from the vast waves around it. But when it touches the ocean's surface, there is no boundary, no separation. The drop and the ocean are one. So it is with the soul and God. When you immerse yourself fully in divine communion through meditation, devotion, and living remembrance, the illusion of being a solitary drop dissolves. You realize that the thoughts of divine wisdom arising within you are not whispered from afar. They are the voice of the ocean itself speaking through the drop that was never truly separate. In this exalted state, prayer transforms completely. No longer do you beg or plead for guidance or comfort. Instead, divine thoughts flow effortlessly through your consciousness. When you speak words of kindness or inspiration to others, you feel that it is not you who speaks, but God expressing Himself through your lips. When you act with courage or compassion, you know that it is not your limited strength, but divine power moving your hands and guiding your steps. Your life becomes not just a dialogue with God, but a living expression of His will, a continuous song sung by the infinite through the instrument of your being. This is not to say that your individuality is destroyed. Just as the ocean can take the form of countless waves without ceasing to be one, so your unique soul remains a radiant expression of the divine, but now it shines as a conscious ray of the infinite light, rather than a shadow believing itself apart. In this realization, every moment of existence is filled with a bliss. No earthly pleasure can match a bliss, born of knowing that you live, move, and have your being in God alone. To approach this highest state, Continue the practices you have learned. Each meditation is another step toward merging with Spirit. Each moment of silent remembrance is another drop of your being returning to the ocean. As your awareness expands, you will begin to feel God's presence even beyond form and name. The beloved who once seemed like another voice, another face, now reveals himself as the very essence of your own soul, the infinite self that has quietly guided you through every life, every trial, every joy. When this divine union dawns, words are no longer necessary. Silence itself becomes the language of Spirit. For what need is there to speak when the one you would address is the very breath that moves through you, the very joy that radiates within you? In this sacred silence, you experience the culmination of all prayer, not the request of a mortal to a distant God, but the eternal realization of oneness, where the soul rests forever in the embrace of the infinite friend, knowing, feeling, and being nothing less than divine love itself. Beloved, this is the beloved soul. God is not a distant monarch seated on some unreachable throne, far removed from the struggles of your daily life. He is not a silent observer, indifferent to your pleas or blind to your tears. No, He is closer than the very breath that now moves gently through your body, nearer than the beat of your heart, listening always with perfect love, waiting patiently for you to speak with Him, not through rote words recited without feeling, nor through ritual performed without understanding, but through the living dialogue of soul with Spirit, the tender communion that saints and yogis have known throughout the ages. And yet, most who long for His guidance feel as though their prayers vanish into a void, as though heaven remains locked and silent. This is not because God is far away, but because humanity has forgotten how to truly speak with Him. Today, I wish to share with you the way to speak with God directly, not tomorrow, not in some future after death or after years of searching, but here, in this very moment. There is no barrier between you and your Maker, except the restless waves of your own mind that drown out the whisper of Spirit. Imagine a radio, its dial turned away from the correct frequency. Though the broadcast is strong and constant, you hear only static. So it is with the human soul. God's voice is ever sounding in the quiet depths of your being, but the noise of worldly desires and ceaseless thoughts keeps you from hearing. This path I will give you now is the tuning of your consciousness, the clearing of static, the opening of the inner ear that allows you to not only speak to God but to feel His loving reply. When you speak to another person on earth, you do not shout meaningless phrases into the wind and then walk away. You approach them face to face, your heart engaged, your voice clear, your intention steady. To speak with God requires even more sincerity. The mind must become calm, the heart must burn with love, and the soul must lift itself upward to the level where divine communion can occur. God does not answer the prayers of the tongue alone, nor the scattered whispers of an unsteady heart. But when the prayer of your entire being rises like incense from the altar of devotion, the gates of heaven swing wide open, and you know that you are heard. Beloved, let us first still the obstacles that keep this divine dialogue from blossoming. The greatest barrier is the chattering mind, always busy, forever rushing to solve worldly problems, tangled in fear and craving. When the mind runs unchecked, it is like muddy water that cannot reflect the radiant sun of divine presence. The ego, too, blocks this sacred communion, for when a man believes he is separate from God, a frail mortal struggling alone, his words are clouded with doubt, tinged with demands born of insecurity. Even when one tries to pray, impatience makes him speak quickly, expecting an immediate answer in human terms, then feeling abandoned when silence greets his request. But that silence is not rejection. It is God's invitation to go deeper, to quiet the noise of self so that the eternal song of Spirit may be heard. Now let us prepare the soul to rise above these obstacles. Sit upright wherever you are, spine straight as a temple pillar, shoulders relaxed, hands resting gently upon your knees or folded in your lap. Close your eyes and feel the body growing still, like a lake at dawn. Take a deep, slow breath through the nose, drawing it deeply into your abdomen, holding it softly for a moment, then releasing it through the mouth like a sigh of surrender. Again, inhale light, filling every cell with calm energy, hold, and exhale all restlessness and tension. With each breath, feel your mind clearing, your heart softening, your entire being becoming a vessel ready to hold divine love. Lift your inner gaze gently to the point between your eyebrows, the spiritual eye, the sacred doorway through which the soul communes with spirit. Here, imagine a soft golden light glowing, warm and gentle, like the morning sun touching the horizon. In this stillness, silently call to God, not with elaborate words but as you would call to the dearest friend of your heart. Beloved Father, Mother Divine, I have wandered long, seeking joy in fleeting things. Speak to me now in the language of my soul. Let me feel thy presence as surely as I feel my own breath. Do not force these words. Let them flow with sincerity, even if your voice trembles or tears rise to your eyes. Remain in this silent prayer for a few moments, and as you do, listen not with your ears, but with the quiet awareness of your spirit. Divine response rarely comes as a thunderous voice echoing from the heavens. More often, it comes as a sudden wave of peace that bathes your mind, as a warmth blooming in the heart, as a lightness in the breath that feels like unseen hands lifting you higher. These are not products of imagination. They are the living touch of God, who speaks not in human language, but in the vibrations of joy, love, and deep stillness. Beloved, do not think that this sacred conversation is meant only for saints or rare souls chosen by fate. You too are a divine child, carrying within you the same capacity to know your Creator as any prophet or master. The more you practice this inner stillness, the more clearly you will hear. Begin each day by withdrawing from worldly clamor, sitting quietly with your eyes lifted to spirit, speaking gently from your heart, then waiting in reverent silence for the divine reply. Let your words be few, your longing be great, and your listening be patient. Over time, you will find that this dialogue becomes natural, continuous, flowing like a river through your daily life. In the next part of our journey together, I shall lead you deeper into the sacred technique by which countless saints and yogis have spoken with God directly, method that transforms prayer from spoken request into divine communion, where you not only speak, but truly hear the eternal friend whispering in the sanctuary of your soul. Beloved soul, as you rest in this quiet stillness, know that true conversation with God begins not with words but with the opening of the heart's inner chamber. When you speak to Him, do not imagine a distant monarch you must beg for mercy or favor. See instead a loving friend, a beloved closer than your own thoughts, who has never left your side. Even when you turned away in forgetfulness, even when worldly duties drowned your yearning, His presence remained constant, waiting for you to remember and return to Him. This understanding transforms prayer from an act of pleading into an intimate, soul-to-soul dialogue, where love flows naturally, without fear, without hesitation. To speak directly with God, you must first attune yourself to His silent language. Ordinary speech is made of sound and breath, vibrating in the physical realm. But God's conversation moves in higher currents, through intuition, through divine feeling, through the quiet knowing that blossoms when thought subsides. Imagine standing beside a tranquil lake. When the water is stirred by wind, the surface reflects nothing, but when calm returns, it mirrors the sky perfectly. So it is with your mind and heart. When stilled through meditation and devotion, they reflect divine guidance with crystal clarity. Sit with me now in this shared moment of sacred practice. Once again, close your eyes and gently lift your gaze to the spiritual eye, the center of divine communion. Let your breath become slow and rhythmic, like the gentle tide of a peaceful sea. Inhale silently for a count of 6, feeling a subtle light rising from the base of your spine toward the forehead. Hold the breath briefly, sensing that light collecting as a radiant flame. Exhale softly for another count of 6, letting go of every shadow of doubt, fear, or distraction. Repeat this a few times, each cycle deepening your stillness, each exhalation clearing the path to divine presence. Now, with your heart fully awake and your mind quiet, whisper inwardly, not aloud, but in the language of thought and longing, Beloved God, I know Thou art here. I no longer call to a faraway heaven. I speak to Thee within my own soul, for this body is Thy temple, and my very life is Thy eternal breath. Feel these words not as mere affirmations, but as living truth. Imagine your soul as a child returning home after a long journey, running into the arms of its eternal parent. There are no barriers here, no judgment, only the sweetest embrace of divine recognition. Remain in this prayerful silence. Resist the urge to strain for an answer. Do not demand a voice or a sign. Instead, cultivate the receptive stillness of a listening heart. God speaks most clearly when we stop speaking ourselves. Perhaps you will feel a wave of warmth washing over you, or a blissful shiver rising along your spine. Perhaps a quiet joy will settle in your chest, as though a hidden lamp has been lit there. These are his replies, subtle yet undeniable. Over time, you will come to recognize them as distinctly as you recognize the sound of a loved one's voice. To deepen this divine conversation, offer your love repeatedly, as a steady stream flowing towards spirit. Silently chant God's name, beloved, beloved, letting it pulse gently with each heartbeat. If thoughts intrude, return to the chant, letting it anchor you in devotion. With every repetition, feel that you are not simply calling to God but opening a door through which His love enters more freely. Saints and masters have walked this same path, using this sacred repetition to dissolve the wall between human and divine, until only love remains, until every breath feels like a direct conversation with eternity itself. Beloved, speaking with God is not a ritual you perform only at dawn or in temples. It is a living relationship meant to fill every moment of your existence. As you walk through your day, keep a portion of your mind lifted to Him. When you witness beauty, silently say, I see Thee in this. When trials come, whisper inwardly, Guide me, Lord. I am listening. When joy arises, share it instantly. Thank you, divine friend, for this gift. In this way, your life transforms into a continuous dialogue with Spirit, until even in the busiest hours you feel accompanied, guided, and unshaken by the storms of this world. And know this final truth. When you speak to God with sincerity, love, and the stillness of soul, the divine answer is never absent. It may not come as words, nor in the exact way your human expectations demand, but it always arrives in the intuition that solves a dilemma, in the courage that appears when you need it most, in the radiant joy that suddenly floods your heart without reason. These are God's replies, unmistakable to the soul that listens. In the next part of our sacred journey, I shall guide you step by step into the profound method that saints and yogis use to enter this divine dialogue completely, where breath, mind, and heart align with spirit, and the living voice of God is heard not only in meditation, but as the unbroken music of your soul's eternal friendship with Him. Beloved one, to truly understand how to speak with God directly, you must know the sacred science of aligning every aspect of your being, body, mind, heart, and soul into perfect harmony with the divine vibration. Many attempt to talk to God using only words, thinking that if they repeat enough prayers or recite beautiful phrases, they will gain His attention. But true communion is not born of outward sound. It is born of inward transformation. Words are only the faint echo of the soul's deeper call. When you learn to unite breath, devotion, and stillness, the call becomes clear, and God cannot help but respond, for He already lives within you, listening through the temple of your own consciousness. Begin by preparing your body, for the body is the vessel through which the energy of spirit must flow freely if divine conversation is to be heard. Sit tall, as though a string of light were pulling gently upward from the crown of your head. Let your shoulders relax and your hands rest upon your lap, palms open, ready to receive divine grace. Keep your spine straight and still, for the spine is the altar upon which the sacred fire of energy ascends, carrying your devotion upward to the throne of the infinite. When your posture is calm and steady, the restless currents of the body quiet, and the gateway to higher consciousness begins to open. Next, turn to your breath. Breath is the bridge between body and soul, between thought and spirit. The more restless your breath, the more scattered your mind. The more still and refined your breath, the more clearly you can feel God's presence. Close your eyes and inhale gently through the nose to a slow count of 6. Feel that breath traveling upward through your spine, like a river of light carrying prayers heavenward. Hold the breath softly for a moment, sensing a quiet energy gathering behind the forehead. Then exhale slowly for the same count, imagining every worry, every worldly attachment flowing out and dissolving into nothingness. Repeat this cycle several times, allowing each round to take you deeper into tranquility. Now bring your focus to the spiritual eye, the sacred center between the eyebrows. This is not merely a physical point, It is the seat of divine vision, the doorway through which you step into higher realms of consciousness. As you gently lift your gaze there, imagine a radiant star of golden light shining brightly, a beacon guiding you home to God. With every inhalation, feel yourself moving closer to that light. With every exhalation, feel yourself merging more completely with it, as though your soul is dissolving into pure brilliance. With your body stilled, your breath harmonized, and your gaze fixed upon the divine light, begin to silently call upon God. But do not use words of fear or demand. Speak as a loving child to the most tender parent, as a devoted friend to the truest beloved. Inwardly whisper, "Divine friend, reveal thyself to me. I long not for worldly riches or fleeting pleasures. I long only for thee. Let me hear thy voice in the silence of my soul. Let me feel thy presence in the depth of my being." Pour every ounce of sincerity into this inner prayer, letting it rise from your heart like a fragrant offering upon the altar of spirit. After you have spoken these words, resist the temptation to continue asking, pleading, or thinking. Instead, surrender completely into silence. True conversation with God is a two-way communion, and now is the time to listen. Still your thoughts, as though you are waiting in a vast, holy temple, where even the faintest whisper of the divine can be heard. Do not expect sound or language as you know it. Expect only to feel. You may sense a warm current of joy spreading through your chest, a serene peace enveloping your mind, or a subtle vibration of love shimmering through your body. These are not mere sensations. They are the living answer of God, responding to your call, assuring you that you are heard, that you are loved beyond measure. Beloved, remain in this silent communion for as long as you can, letting go of time and expectation. If thoughts arise, do not struggle. Simply return to the breath, to the light at the spiritual eye, to the gentle mantra of, "Beloved, reveal thyself." The more you practice this sacred technique, the stronger the connection becomes, until one day you will sit in meditation and feel, without question, that God Himself is within you, listening, speaking, guiding every thought and breath of your existence. In the next section of our journey, we shall move beyond this meditation seat and learn how to carry this